Well, hi, and welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I won't be repairing anything. Instead, I'm going to be experimenting with some speakers, microphones, and everything else that I've got here that conveys audio. And the reason I'm doing this is twofold. One is I'm testing a pair of speakers that I just repaired, and I'm also using a pair of very high quality speakers, very similar to the ones I repaired, to examine sound coming from speakers. So I'll make a little more sense as I get into this. The way I want to approach this is first I want to explain what I've got set up here in my shop. Then I want to discuss some of the problems with the way things are being done. There's problems with doing this. Problems you can't really escape. And lastly, we're going to check all these speakers out, and I'm going to do my very best to take this opportunity I have in front of me with my shop and my equipment to really learn some stuff about speakers for real. So, okay, so let me start with explaining what I've got set up here. I'm just going to get out of the way. So if we look down, there's the set of speakers I just repaired. I replaced these two tweeters in it. And so we're going to test those to make sure they're working well. Now, coincidentally, these speakers belong to a customer of mine, but coincidentally, I own a very similar set of speakers down here. The grill is still on these speakers. The grill is off these. That's why you can see the actual drivers. It so happens that these are actually identical speakers. They're just different models. So this speaker down here, my own speaker, is a model up from this one. So these speakers are Electrohome Acoustech. I have to say that right. Acoustech. These ones up here are E00411s, and these ones down here are E00412s. They're slightly larger. So we're going to compare these two speakers after we prove that these two are working properly. Now, how I'm going to do this, or what have I got hooked up here to enable me to do this? So this stereo has come with these two speakers. They're owned by the same individual, and he presented them to me because they weren't working right, and I finished repairing them. Not too much wrong with it. In fact, this is a pretty nice amplifier, and these are pretty nice speakers too. So we're going to use this as a sound source. We're also going to use this signal generator as a sound source. When we want a pure tone, we'll get it from there. What I'm going to get from here, along with regular radio station programs, just to listen to briefly, most importantly, is white noise from the FM receiver when not tuned to a station. That white noise is very helpful to us humans. A pure tone being fed through the speakers is not very helpful to us humans, but very helpful to technical equipment. So we'll look at it kind of in these two ways. And although I did do some preliminary testing just to make sure I had everything connected correctly, I really don't know what the results are going to be. Now I have this switch set up here. This switch turns on each one of these four speakers independently or individually. So if I turn all these down, there'll be no speakers connected to the amplifier. And if I just push this, one of these four, right now, which one is it? I think it's this one, is turned on. The switch will turn on this speaker, etc. Mostly I want to feed, in fact all the time, I want to feed all these speakers exactly the same signal. So although this is a stereo unit, I'll be sending just one signal, one channel here, and splitting that one channel into all these leads. So any sound that's coming out of these speakers is exactly the same signal reaching them. They're essentially just wired in parallel. That means I need to be a little bit careful about turning on all four of them and turning up the volume. So that might be a little too much for this guy. Plus, all four of them in parallel is going to be a resistance of, I don't know, somewhere around 2 ohms, maybe less than 2 ohms. That might be so low as to be a little bit dangerous for this guy. So we don't want to do that. Okay. Now, problems with doing this. Oh, microphones. So microphones, well, one of the problems here right away is I'm listening with my ears and you're listening through a microphone, sound control system, a YouTube video recording, and then it's coming out of your system at your place. If you've got your cell phone in your hand and you're watching this video on your cell phone, I put your earbuds in for sure. Because unless you're listening with fairly decent speakers or a decent sound system or good headphones, which is probably the easiest way, you're not going to hear what's there. And in fact, I can't be absolutely sure you're going to hear everything that I can produce in here. I may produce sounds so low they don't get recorded on a YouTube video. Now, my experience is YouTube videos are good. The audio quality is great on them, so hopefully that won't be a problem. Microphones, right. So normally when I'm shooting videos in my shop, I'm using this microphone here. This is a stereo microphone. It's actually got two transducers in it. And so I record normally in stereo using this. I will utilize this microphone from time to time. But the one I really want to use during the test would be this one here, which is a little bit hidden from view. Let me just bring it out. Okay, another challenge I have here is there's wires everywhere in my shop, not the least of which is operating these cameras. There we go. So this is a very high quality microphone. I seldom use this. On my soundboard, this is connected in a way that it produces just mono sound, so the same sound out of both speakers, and I can flip to it just as easy as sliding a few sliders here. In fact, let's put a little more light on the topic here. See a little better. Hey, look at that. So if I just slide these down, now you're listening to me through another microphone that's hanging right here. This microphone is positioned where it is in my shop because when I stand and face my computer screen when I'm doing work, I speak into this microphone. If I remember to turn it on. Often I don't. And the last microphone is the one. No use talking when the microphone's off, is this one. So now we're listening to this. And also, my own sake, I'm listening with my ears just in the room. I do have a pair of headphones. Now, the last video I posted, I did do a little bit of sound checking on speakers, and what happened was I accidentally overloaded the video recording. In my own shop, on these headphones, and just here listening, nothing was going wrong, but on the video there was a fair bit of overload. In fact, a good portion of it was so bad I didn't even post it. But what it did teach me is an awful lot about what I can achieve in my shop here when I was just experimenting it. Okay, are we ready to start? I think the first thing we're going to start with is listening to these speakers operate with just a regular radio station signal. You know what, I didn't talk about all the problems that can occur with what we're doing here, so let me talk a little bit about that. First of all, anechoic chamber. Have you ever been in an anechoic chamber? I have. I've been in one. I've been in this special hallway in the Ontario Science Centre, which is an anechoic chamber you walk through. It's shaped as an S shape, so when you're in the middle of it you can't see out the ends, and sound can't come in from outside. The Ontario Science Centre is quite a noisy place. It's years and years ago. I was in there, I was a kid. You walk into the middle of this short hallway, maybe 10-15 feet long, and might be 4 or 5 people in there, and you start talking, of course, and the first thing you realize is you can hardly hear each other. The person is standing and just in front of me talking, and their voice sounds small, weak, and far away. And so what that means is in a room where you don't have the anechoic effect, where sound is not being absorbed everywhere, what you are hearing mostly is reflected sound. At first that might not make sense. You might think we got the main sound, like for instance coming from a speaker into your ear. Surely to goodness this is 80% of what you're hearing, and 20% is reflections in that. I personally don't believe that. I think it's much more complicated than that, and my experience in the anechoic chamber suggests that very directly. It's really a spooky feeling to realize how much the reflected sound is affecting everything. So look at my shop here. Well, you can't really look at it. My shop is just a small room. It has some interesting features. It has a big side door here, which goes into my laundry room, which I can open and close. And of course, it has a back door, the main door, to enter into. So there's some room effects we can investigate. But the thing to realize is we're really listening to these speakers using a microphone in a room, and that whole setup has an impact, maybe a very significant impact on the sound. And we'll poke around with a little bit of this too. There's a way to make it a little bit apparent. A little bit. So let's listen to these speakers now, even though everything I'm doing here is got a huge question mark after it. Here we go. Come on, Jim. Where'd it go? So I spent a little bit of time troubleshooting this, and there's a connection that's just a little wonky here. But of course, that's not the problem now. Oh, for crying out loud. What is it now? Ah! Balance control. Yes. Okay, so we're only listening to one channel, and I just before I got to this point, I had the balance switch the other way. So
Celebrating the big...
There we go. Now we're in business finally. I've overcome all my mistakes. Well, the ones I've made so far anyway. Here we go. Let's listen a bit.
Events canceled.
Oh, another factor, significant factor, is where I'm standing in this room. I mean, right now I'm standing in front of the speaker you're about to listen to. I'm between the speakers and the microphone. Some of these effects I'm going to put up on the computer screen, and we'll be analyzing them using some software, so you'll see these effects taking place. That's the interesting part. I just don't want to start doing that until I've showed you how this whole thing works. Yeah, if it does work. Back to what we're doing now. One station.
Classic rock, new rock, Rock 95.
License number
This
10587.
speaker?
When you need mortgage money fast, you can count on Savers Mortgage. Savers Mortgage has been the bank alternative for over 30 years, offering equity-only first, second, or third mortgages despite income, credit, being self-employed, past bankrupt, on commission, and even if in power of sale. Money for any...
Now, it's not a beautifully received FM station. There's a bit of noise in there, but actually that's helpful. The noise is high-frequency stuff. It's very distinguishable because we know what noise sounds like. So you can hear the noise going back and forth between the speakers. My impression, certainly with these speakers, is they sound identical. But we're going to take a closer look now, and we're going to use a different technique. Where's my head? There's my head, just in case you were worried I'd lost my head. I have not lost my head. Let's tune to some white noise.
At savers.ca.
There we go. White noise, great for human beings to hear differences. So I'm going to flip from this speaker to this speaker and back and forth. You can see my hand on the switches here, switching them back and forth. You can listen, and I'll indicate which speaker. We're starting with this one. Here comes the white noise. Switch to the lower speakers and listen to the same stuff. First, I'll switch between this speaker and this one down here. So let's turn on this one. Here we go. Okay, now I'll do the same with the two speakers behind me, starting with the top one. So what we're going to have to do now is talk about this sound with a lot of subjective terms, which makes the whole sound thing crazy to discuss. But I can hear a difference. I don't really hear a difference between these two. Mind you, I'm standing here, and there is a difference. They're in different places relative to me. They're in different places in my room. So there is a slight difference, but my brain is telling me to attribute it just to location. Now you're listening with a microphone, it's a little different. It's just a little different. So maybe you could hear more distinctly differences or similarities between them. I don't think there's anything different going on between these two. When I compare this to this speaker, I definitely hear a difference. To me, the sound, I would describe it as being fuller. There seems to be a larger range. There seems to be something more to it. There seems to be. Now that shouldn't be surprising. It's not really easy to see in the camera, but this is actually quite a bit larger speaker than this one. It's just a little hard because of this. Look. So you can see how much more cabinet there is here, and the height is probably another couple inches anyway. It's a little bit bigger out the back. It's just a bigger box, essentially. It's the same style speaker otherwise, but the tweeter is moved off to the side on these big speakers. I guess they need a little more room or something. I don't know. They didn't line it up like this. Okay, now the next thing to do is to use the to absolutely prove these speakers are working is for me to grab the microphone. Watch your ears. I'm going to hold this microphone in my hand here. Okay. I think I'm going to turn down the sensitivity quite a bit. Trying to keep my eye on levels here as much as I can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move the microphone across the different drivers. We'll hear what the difference is. And to do this, now this is tricky for me here in the shop because I can't help but hear these speakers directly into my ears. I do have some headphones. God knows what's in my ear at that point. Combination of direct sound and this. Okay, a lot of hand sounds. Try to hold it still. Here we go. First, the speaker. Just getting the levels right. Trying anyway. Turn down the sensitivity just a wee bit. So, you know, there are questions about the quality of these microphones. This is a high quality microphone. Here we go. Okay, other speaker now. Maybe it's my imagination. I think I hear a rumble coming out of the port down here. Okay, now we're going to compare speaker to speaker. Turn them both on. I would rank those as like being identical. They just sound identical. So I think that's a big pass. These speakers are working the way they should work. We'll try the same thing now on my lower speakers and find out for sure if this is a big deal for me. I'm concerned that some of the drivers down here aren't working right. So let's see what we can find out from this. Those two speakers are both on now. well, that's really good. Everything seems to be working quite well to me. That's how it seems to me anyway. Did I talk about the factors of these microphones? I am using a high quality microphone right now, but its actual response, I don't know. Well, actually I do know, because yesterday I tested this stuff quickly to make sure that things were within range and I could pull this video off today. This microphone will go way low. In fact, all my microphones appear to be able to do that. So so I was a little worried about just how low down can you get it. So quite low. Let's talk about the tuned port here just for a minute. And I'm just going to switch here. So I'm not holding this microphone anymore. Back on the bench microphone here. Okay, so we got 4 good speakers, all working properly, all sound balanced among themselves. They're all tuned port speakers. You know, you can look on the internet and find out the truth, but I'll tell you a little bit anyway. So the tuned port down here is, there's a tube in here, and the tube probably goes back 2/3 of the way or so in the speaker. The dimension of the tube, the length of the tube inside the speaker, and I'm sure the overall dimensions here, the distance from the center of this driver down to the hole, all these things are factors in making the bass this is called a bass reflex, I believe. No, it's called a... Anyway, all these things are factors in making this stuff work right. What's the use of having this big hole in the speaker here? You've gone to great lengths to make these speakers as stiff as possible. They use very thick wood. I saw inside there's a stiffener bar going back from here. I'm sure the bigger speakers are the same. They've done everything they can to make these cabinets as rigid as possible and then cut a big hole in it here. Well, because this is done by design and by engineering and by sort of a scientific kind of thing, the result is a slightly extended bass. That's my understanding of it. It helps just extend the bass or boost the very lowest bass sounds. That's the objective. You tune this based on the length of the tube, size of the hole, all that stuff. I suppose you can put the boost a little higher or a little lower in frequency. So we're going to try to figure all this out with these speakers. Just what's going on. Is this really working? Does that really provide a boost? So, okay. What's next here? So the next thing I think we can do is put some pure tones through the speakers and just listen to those and see what that sounds like. I like the hiss. A stereo salesman told me about this trick of using the hiss coming out of an FM radio tuned between stations to compare speakers in the speaker shop or a stereo shop. He was right. It is the way to do it. In the end, yeah, you're listening to records of music, so in the end you got to listen to that to really know for sure. But for comparison and that, and then one other thing, is this true? I don't know. All my life I believed, after I was told, our sound memories are very, very short, about 7 seconds. So if you listen to this speaker for a few seconds and then switch quickly to this one, you can probably compare them. But if you listen to this one for a few seconds and then lackadaisically start listening to this one, you probably can't mentally compare them. And that's been my experience. You hear it, but you're not sure. Or very quickly you become unsure. That's why I got the snap switches here, so I can snap quickly from speaker to speaker to avoid that problem with our hearing. Oh my gosh, this is just too complicated, isn't it? Okay, let me get a tone going, and we'll listen to a little bit of that. Okay, things are going to get more interesting now. This is a audio analysis piece of software, Visual Analyzer. And I'm just going to flip it on. And what it should be responding to is my voice coming through the microphones. And you can see that. Right? Yeah, for sure you can see it. Now, let me just check a few settings here. Switch this way. Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to play some of that white noise, just to start off with. So as I figure out what I'm doing here. And what I'll do is I'll switch through the speakers. I'll do the two smaller ones first and then the two larger ones. And if you should be able to hear the click as I flip the switches. Okay. Let's try that once more, through all four. I would say that didn't really show me anything of interest. So let's get away from the noise. It's really much better for the human brain to listen to and make judgments than maybe this equipment. But let's put a tone through here now. There we are. Yes, it's vintage equipment, so you have to be a little bit patient with it. Okay, so the speaker that's on is the one that's behind me. I'm just going to move around my shop. You watch that. Oh, that's way too high. At the moment, I'm gonna have to flip something here on my computer just to check something. Good. Okay. Just wanted to check the levels. We're still okay. You can see the single tone there on the screen, of course. Now, let me move around. Okay, I'm not moving. Now I'm moving. Okay, I'm going to go, and I've been moving in front of the microphone. I'm going to move around behind the microphone. Okay, I'm not moving. Now I'm moving. I'm just swaying side by side in my shop, and I can see the peak go up and down. So, I'm a combination of a sound absorber and a sound reflector, and it just goes to show you that how difficult it is to do this. We're not even using a really high frequency. If we use a higher frequency, all this stuff becomes more critical. Let me rotate the speaker. I'll stand here. Oddly enough, when I aim the speaker at the microphone, the sound is lower. Much lower now. It's a peak right in around here. Now, an interesting thing is happening. You can't tell, but this speaker is now aimed right at my laundry room door, which would reflect the sound right at the microphone. I'm going to close that door. But yeah, I'm a problem now, as I realize as I move around the shop. So I'm going to walk in my laundry room. Oh, this won't work. I was going to close the door, but I won't be able to. I won't be in here to see what happened. Okay, so I'm going to stand where I think is the most neutral spot. I think here. I'm going to swing the door. Let me swing it slower. Opening, opening. Okay, now it's aimed. Now the reflection will be aimed in the mic. And now it's past that point. Wow. You know what? You can watch this, actually. You can watch the door thing happen. If you don't mind looking at my laundry room. Again, I'm trying not to move myself. Here we go. Anybody see when I slam the door or when I bump the door, you got a big peak at 10 hertz. Watch. 10 and 20 hertz. Which we can't really hear. So this again, this is just showing how many problems there are with doing this. Now I'm going to close the door. Beautiful sunny day outside. I'm going to move the microphone around the room. First I'm going to straighten this speaker back. Okay. maybe stop looking at a door. Okay, so coming right down in front of the speaker. Yeah, it's too high. Again, you know, I can't monitor my audio levels. What am I talking about? Okay, let's try it like that. Can't see much there. Go a little closer. It's all coming out of the bigger speaker here. Coming out of here. Mostly coming out of here, not much coming out of there. Now, I'm going to test this with my biological microphone. Using my ear, it's really obvious. This sound is coming from here, not from here, not from here. There's a little bit of a hiss and something coming out of here, but not that tone. How high do we have to change the tone frequency, which is at 500 hertz right now? It's going to be at around 500 hertz. Let's raise it up and see at what point the crossover starts delivering sound to the speaker. Okay, careful, Jim. Overload on the microphones. Turn it down a little bit. This one I have to get the microphone out of my hand. Position it so it's not being moved. See, I'm just turning my head and the sound is completely disappearing if I just stand in the right spot here. It's like there's a dead spot. If I put my head in this dead spot, wow, I wouldn't even know. Okay, here's my head. I wouldn't even know. I don't know, can you see my head? I'm having a hard time here. I'm working all my equipment. It's not really arranged for this kind of stuff. But okay, so what we want to watch now is as I raise the frequency, at what point does this speaker start becoming active? Okay, starting at 500 hertz. I think this right in here is the crossover point. Or is it caused by a resonance in my room? Is it caused by position of the microphone? Look how low it is. I don't hear it doing that. It's not what I hear. I don't. Yeah, I apologize if the levels are all over the place on this video. So, right there. Now, is that because of where I'm standing? I have the microphone very closely coupled to the speaker here. Let me pull back a little bit. Oh, well, who would figure that? The farther away, the stronger the sound. Maybe it's that reflected sound thing. Maybe when I'm up tight, I'm mostly hearing just this, and it's not that loud. But you get a little ways away, reflections are coming in. Let me try this with my ear. I have to take my whole head with my ear. You know why? It's coming out of here. It's coming out of the big speaker. That's what's going on. So we're at the low point in the crossover, I think. And what I've really discovered is the sound is really deadened up here. Is that what I've discovered? So when I get closer and closer to this speaker, I'm getting farther and farther from this one, getting up against the front of the panel. I think that's what's really happening. So what does that tell me? That tells me some odd things here. Odd things. We'll flip down here. Why don't we see when this drops? So what we'll do is we'll look for when this sound disappears from the woofer speaker. So I'll go up more in frequency. I'll go down first to see what happens. Just gets quieter. Go back up. Okay, I've reached the top of this range here. Okay, I'm going to go up higher now. We're at 2,000 hertz, I believe. Going up. Well, you can see it on the computer screen. We're just south of 2,000 hertz. Turning down the stereo. Carrying on with the frequency. It's going down now. So there's a spot right in here. Once you get around 4K, I certainly hear it with my ears. Maybe it's the tweeter I'm hearing. Because I'm not listening with headphones here. So now let's go up to the tweeter. So it was around 4,000, wasn't it? Around 4,000. Okay, let's see if it reappears. Let's try that again. I'm going to turn the volume down just a wee bit. Okay, here we go again. So up in this range, this is 18,000 hertz on the computer screen there. Pretty sure I don't hear it. Right there. That's when I start to hear it. So I'm starting to hear it at about 12 kilohertz, 11 or 12. Yeah, I don't think I can hear it above that. And if we come down, you see the level again, there's all kinds of problems with doing this, right? So it's a comparative thing. I can compare it with the other speaker and get some validity out of it. Right now we're just getting familiar with one speaker before starting the comparison process. There we go, going down. So I can see a number of resonances. I'll show you what I'm spotting, especially if you watch the upper display. The upper display is a little easier to see. There's one. Peak right in there. Ooh, there's a bigger one. So now we have another factor here, and that's our own hearing, which is nonlinear and volume dependent. So in other words, at higher volumes we have a different distribution of frequencies that we can hear than at lower volumes. And I think at the lower volumes we can't hear bass very well. I believe that's what drops out, and that's why you have a loudness control on your stereo, compensating for your ears. So there's just a huge number of problems with trying to do this with sound. And you can see why design engineers would give up trying to do what I'm doing right now in their shops and laboratories, and would eventually revert to using an anechoic chamber just to find out for sure what's going on. The fact is, we don't live in anechoic chambers. Everywhere we are, there is reflected sound all around us, unless you're way out in the open. And even then, I think even in the open, I think there's some form of reflection going on. So, but the comparative thing should work. So let's make a couple notes here. You know what, this is going to go on for hours today. I've got hours of ideas in my head, so there might be a couple of videos coming on this. What I need is a piece of paper. And what I've decided to claim here, let's just check it again. So it's definitely going down around 2. So I'm gonna say there's a range here of 2 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz crossover range. Goodness knows if that's correct. Now we're going to switch to a different speaker. Okay, I'll flip the switch here. Now, again, relativity doesn't mean anything. Look at how high it is, though. Nice clean signal there. Like no harmonics. Harmonic would be, there's no harmonics. That's really nice. That's something else we should be looking at. We'll go down in frequency. Expecting it to roll off in between 2 and 4. There it goes. Now, shouldn't it be coming? What have I just done there? Just knocked the FM antenna down. If we'll listen to the lower speaker now. Just do the same thing. Yeah, who knows what's going to show up here. I want to go lower. Okay, going lower. We'll be looking at the lower end next. We're just doing the tweeter side of things right now. Okay, let me go up. Frequency. And there it is. It's pretty much left the room by 4. Okay, of course I can hear it in my ears because it's coming out of the tweeter. Still hear it. And we'll go higher. I think it's the same. I think they're working the same. Hard to say for sure, isn't it? I mean, to be honest. Now, if anybody tells you anything special about their speakers, and you've watched this video, you can ask them, how did you ever come up with that? So we're going to switch, starting with the tweeter. Is that on camera? Starting with the tweeter of the lower speaker. Tweeter of the speaker. And just flip over to it. There it is. Now, so roll off going to be the same. We're at 6,000 hertz, we'll go down. Should be rolling off now. There it goes. Seemed to me it was a little, it went up just a little lower. Not really though. 2,000. You're really cooking when you get up pretty high. Look at all the ups and downs. It's very high around the 3 and 4. Okay, let's do the other channel. Same thing. from the tweeter. I'm going to click right down the frequency. Flip over now. Oh, there it is. Right off the screen. Down. My air conditioner has just come on in my house, in case you can hear that sound. We'll go down in frequency. Again, it seems to hang on a little higher. The effect we're looking at is created by some electronic components, the capacitor and the coil. I don't really know what's inside these speakers. Something's in there doing this crossover job. And it could be that the two speakers have different, two different types of speakers have two different crossovers. And they may have different drivers, like tweeter drivers. Let's go down lower. Still looking at the tweeter, going down lower. My signal this way. Clearly the tweeter is working on highs. I think everything's working fine. Let's listen to the bass down here now. So I've had these speakers for a long time. The speakers we're about to check. My own speakers, beautiful tannoy speakers, had given up the ghost and I was too stupid to fix them. I got rid of them, shame on me. And a friend of mine whose parents once owned a furniture store said he had a couple of speakers in storage. He'd give them to me because he didn't want them. Anyway, and I thought, oh man, furniture store speakers, but I don't have any speakers right now. So okay, sure, free is the right price. And he gave me these two speakers, which I began using, and I thought, hey, these sound pretty good. Now, it was like 15 or 20 years ago. Just about 6 months ago, I discovered how good these speakers sound by really listening to them on my stereo, my record player, my turntable, after changing the cartridge. I put a different cartridge on, and all of a sudden I realized that there was bass coming out of these speakers down here that I'd never appreciated before. So we're going to go hunt for that bass now and see if it's really there. So we're listening. Again, there are limitations on the microphone, limitations everywhere, but let's see what happens. We're going to take this speaker way down in sound. Sound frequency. Here we go. I can't even hear it, but it's definitely there. It's ringing. I really need to hear this, I think. Oh my gosh. So, let's see if I'm going to change the microphone. Put it all higher. I can hear it now. My own ears. Let's keep going. Here we go, going lower. That's 100 hertz. Ooh, look at it go up. Now, the going up thing, it could be anything. It could be resonance in my room, it could be the microphone, it just could be so many different things. But it's definitely there at 60. Going down now. Going down. So we're getting around 40. We're at 40 hertz. I hear 40 hertz. I'm just turning it up. I just stick my ear down there. I don't hear a thing. Is it really there? I'm going to snap off the speaker. So there's a 40 hertz signal there. And I'm surprised I can't hear it. I'll open up the door here to my little laundry room. Didn't seem to help at all. Oh. 40. How much lower can we go? It's really dropping off, but still here at 30. Oh my gosh, down to 20. 20. You should be able to see 20. Like see the cone moving at 20. Wow. That's why I'm excited about those speakers. Let's go back up. So see this point here? Right here. Now either what's happening is you go lower and the reflex is what's helping with this, or the reflex stops right at about 40. And what is down there at 10 and 20, who knows? But they're probably aiming for 40. After all, no use reproducing sound nobody can hear. These speakers would produce what I can hear that. It's like a low thunder. It's a little loud. I gotta be careful too. I can easily have a lot more power coming out of this receiver amplifier than you might imagine. Up. Where can I hear it? So I certainly hear it here. So these speakers go lower than your ears. Wow. Let's try the other one. You don't need a subwoofer if you're using these speakers. Okay, so we'll change. It's still picking me up, but I'll change the speaker over the microphone's aimed at. Go up a bit. There we are. I can certainly hear that. Go down. I was worried one of these two speakers had poor bass response. It's down to nothing, and then does it come back up? It does. Exactly why it's coming back up. There's all kinds of factors that could be causing it. But it looks to me like really this is the bottom range that you would be interested in, 40 to 50 hertz. Get down there, you probably got really good speakers. Well, they boost right up. Look at that boost right in here. Now maybe that's the reflex. Let's listen to the reflex opening. I hope I got the word right. Reflex. Bass reflex speaker. Tuned port. Maybe that's what it's called. Okay, we are now listening to the port. And we'll go down in frequency and see what happens at the port. Big boost at 80, 70. Look at that. Look at that. Whoa! It's just pumping out of there. Let me turn down the level because that must be just blowing my video. Okay, and I'm hoping you can still hear me. Gotta raise my voice here. Let's go lower. Wow. 30. So that's probably what I was hearing when the microphone was up higher on the actual speaker. I was probably hearing sound coming out of the port. 20. Wow. That's really great. These are really great speakers. 40. You know, this will give you the chest pounding. If you have a good stereo system, look at that. Just blows right off. Cool. Let's check the other one. So the thing about these speakers is they came from a big company, Electrohome. And that big company would be the kind of company that has its own anechoic chamber and would have engineers that were absolutely interested in quality work, and would probably be left alone with a fair number of resources in order to achieve the speaker would achieve. Okay, port down there. Let's flip speakers. Up a little wee bit. And down we go. It makes me want to rip the covers off the front of my speakers and see the cone going like this. I mean, 10 hertz. I can almost shake my head that fast. Wow, it's a happy day for me. Let's compare now with the slightly smaller speakers. Do exactly the same thing. I'm going to skip listening to the main driver right now. I'm going to go right through the port. Okay, turn on this speaker. We're up around 200 hertz. I'm going to just a little more volume. Okay, down we go. Mr. Reflex, do your reflex. Whoa! Okay, hold on. So I don't know what happened on the video there, but that could have just been a horrible overload on the video. I can't believe the result of this guy. Let's just go back up. Okay, so that's what's coming out of the port. Next to nothing at 100 hertz. We're down to 80, 70. It's just like the other one. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. So even these speakers can reproduce it. Now, the question is, can you really hear it? Maybe it's being reproduced, 40 dB below the program material. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm surprised. Let's listen to the actual speaker now. Oh, I could do this all day. We're right in tight here, and maybe that's maybe I need to be out just a little bit like this. Just a little bit like that. Turn up the levels. Start at 200. What happens when you come down from 200? So there's a peak right in here. Now, what's happening here? The gain. When we listen to the port, we see a big effect at the port. When we listen to the speaker, we see an effect too. It could be the port volume is reaching the microphone, or it could be when the port becomes resonant. I assume that's what's happening. The port's becoming resonant. The speaker cone is encouraged to move more. And so, in a sense, the opening in the speaker is releasing the cone to move more and controlling the resonant point where that occurs. I don't know. I'm not a speaker designer. I'm just making all this stuff up as I go. And a little boost at the bottom again. Well. Okay, what are we going to do now with these speakers? Since I think I understand my own voice back here properly, I think I got a good feel for these speakers. We should play them with some program material, and I have something I think I can play that there's no possibility of a copyright yet the sound quality is going to be fantastic. So I will attempt to set that up. And okay, so if this has been an hour already, it may have been, I've lost track of time, then I'll cut the video at this point and carry on tomorrow with more experimenting. If it's been 10 minutes, how long has that actually been? I'll take a peek here. 37 minutes. 37 minutes. Should we go for another set of speakers in here? No, not yet, not yet. I do have another pair of high quality speakers that I plan to bring in here, but only after I've got myself all tuned up here. What do you say? Let's put a tone on the two top speakers. I'll position the microphone somewhere in my shop, and then we'll move the speakers around and do other stuff again, just to see how everything interferes with everything and how difficult it really is to do what I'm doing. Good idea. I like that idea. Okay, we'll do that. So these two top speakers are on now. Let me give a little more. We're going to go up higher in frequency. A lot higher. A lot higher, but not so piercingly high. How about right there? Oh, son of a gun. I'm just covering. Oh. Okay, so I just discovered that the image you're looking at of me is covering part of the chart, but I'm looking at my own computer screen here. I can see that part, so you've missed a whole bunch. Oh, so bad, but not the low stuff. You can see it kind of jumping up there. In fact, if I turn it up just a wee bit. Wee bit. Right there. You can kind of see where it is. Really? My hand is nowhere near in that. And I can hear that. When I'm seeing the signal go up and down. I can hear that. Let's turn the frequency down so the whole thing's on screen here. That would be the solution, Jim. That's a little low now. Frequency-wise, is it still sensitive? Jeez. See where the microphone is. It's just kind of sitting in a stupid spot, and I'm just standing in a random spot, move my hand in a random spot. Wow. Okay, I'm going to walk around my shop here. I'm standing perfectly still first. Okay, moving now. Okay, opening my laundry room door. Trying. Slowly. I open up my main shop door behind the camera. Holding still. Swinging the door. Huh. Wow. There's the lesson. There's the lesson right there. So all you audiophiles, face the truth. The truth is, two people sitting in a room don't hear the same thing because they're not sitting in exactly the same spot. Truth is, when you get up to change your stereo, your head is in a different spot, and your adjustments are made where your head is. And then you go back and sit down, you're listening to something different. Truth is ugly. But like the sign said in the back of my grade 7 class, the truth is still the truth, even if it hurts. How painful is this? So that's clearly why engineers revert to anechoic chambers, because that's the only environment that's controlled enough to get any really meaningful information out of a test like this. Comparatively, yeah, you can compare this to that for sure in almost any circumstance, but look, even these speakers, they're in two different locations. to really do it, I'd have to position one speaker in one spot, test it, then put another speaker in that spot, and make sure nothing else had moved in my room, including me. Oh, holy smokes. Okay. Let's finish this off. I'm going to bring in another set of speakers, great big tall speakers, and we're going to see how they compare, and then we'll be done. Okay, so what's happening here? Yikes. So, the microphone is sitting kind of out here in between the speakers. Keep the speakers straight here. Using the two top speakers you were listening to, and using the keyboard you see over here with its demo song playing. That's what I brought in. I don't think it's copyrighted, so I think we can listen to this rather horrid piece of music all we want. I also believe it's digitally recorded in here. It's so the tones are pure, but how low it actually goes, I don't know. So we're going to listen to the two top speakers, and then we're going to flip to the two lower speakers. So just try to put this microphone in sort of a neutral zone here. Kind of, yeah, that's about as neutral as it's going to get. I'll get in between. We'll play it a bit, watch the screen, then I'll flip speakers. Okay, here we go. Flipping. Flipping back. So what I hear and what I see on the screen there is much more bass coming from the lower speakers. No surprise in that. Now, what about my own subjective listening? So I'm going to do that now, although I have been doing it all along. Let me just put on the top speakers here. They are on. Play this beautiful piece of music again. And I'm going to go stand in a room. It makes more sense to listen to these two speakers. This is in stereo, by the way. I've flipped this to stereo now. Oop, just realized a mistake. I've been using my overbench stereo microphone all this time. Let's flip to this test microphone. Confused on what line's what. So I'm going to repeat this test, what I just did, but with the more proper microphone. Let me just get in between the speakers here. These ones, and switch to those. Upper.
very clearly, the lower speakers in the bigger boxes are doing better. They're producing a lot more bass sound than the upper ones. But the upper ones sound fine on their own. Remember that 7-second sound memory. This is why you turn on a little transistor radio in your kitchen while you're doing the dishes. And the next thing you know, you don't mind at all that it's coming out of a little tiny tin can. It's there's a whole bunch of brain power affecting all this stuff too. Okay, so what we have left to do is to bring in one more set of high quality speakers and compare them. Okay, things are getting a little crowded in here. So these speakers are the ones that my wife and I listen to when we're watching television in our rec room. And I bought these at a yard sale for $10, $5 each. And I could hardly get them in the car fast enough. Look at the size of these things. They are gigantic, right? They're up to my hip here. I like them. Wife, not so much. So let's hear what these sound like. Oh, I should tell you what they are. They're Technics. Let's take a look. Because these are made to be, you know, showing off. Let's put it that way. Cover comes off real easy. What do we got going here? Oh my gosh, you know what? I've hardly ever looked at these speakers. So we're going to put these through a test too to make sure there's 3 drivers, all drivers are working. And you can see it's a bass reflex. It has a horn-shaped thing down there. Oh my gosh. Here, let me just take this right off here. I can hand move the camera. Let's go take a look here. Yow! Look at the size of that baby as compared to the little hole in these other speakers. Just a little hole there. Wow! What's up in there? So it goes back just as far as this plastic and then it ends. So this is not shaped the way the other one is shaped. The other one is just a tube in there. I don't know how you do the math on this. The math on the tube is fairly easy, but the math on this thing, but they may have experimented their way into this, or this is all about selling speakers. Now look at the size of the woofer on this thing. It's huge. It's much bigger than the speakers we've been listening to. This is a gigantic thing. Surround's in great shape. We have a mid-range, and we have a tweeter up here. Here we are. Technics 3-way speaker system, super bass loading, SB-A50. Super bass loading. So, you know, a gigantic speaker, great big port. That must be the super bass. Why the word loading? That's interesting, isn't it? Maybe because somebody already patented super bass sound, so they had to come up with something else. Super bass loading. Okay, so okay, let's just show you I'm not cheating here. There we go. Excellent shape. Everything's in excellent shape. This has a nice surround on it, a nice rubbery surround on it. Let's play these guys. Look at how close the mic is. I gotta put it way back. Just hoping my wife doesn't come down here right now and have a look at my shop of speakers. Now we can flip between these speakers and the big ones back there, but the big ones back there now are blocked by these. Plus I got this much more stuff in my shop. We'll do the microphone thing too. And which microphone am I on? I'm on the, let's call it the technical microphone. Okay. Let's hear some of this crazy demo music here. sure looks good on that. Looks like there's tons of bass coming out of here. Now, I'm going to, we could make a comparison between this speaker and this one if I just move this one over a bit. Okay, flipping. Oops. Flipping now. A little more volume. Flipping. So with my ears, I hear more bass out of that vintage speaker than these ones. I certainly do. It's got a bigger driver, bigger port, bigger box, bigger. And I don't think it produces the same. Let's put the tone through it, and then we'll really find out what's going on. Put the tone, get the tone. Let's get the tone here. Okay, let's try that. Okay, what's happening? Wow! I can't even figure out which speaker's producing the sound, and I'm right in the room with them. Isn't that crazy? It's this one down. This one. Yeah. Okay, for sure. This speaker, and then we'll switch to this speaker. Actually, I'm going to put this speaker on. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Just a wee bit more volume here. And I'm going to vary the frequency. We'll see how low that guy can go. Ooh, where'd he go? That's unexpected. Let me. So we're at 150 hertz. More and more volume. Okay, here we go. 150 hertz going down. Get more volume here. Microphone. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh! I just blew the limits off that video. Oh my gosh! These things go poundingly low. Let me get it down there again. Oh my gosh! You just. So this guy's got a peak right around 50. Not unlike the other speaker. My guess is the people developing these speakers are aiming for a bottom end around 40 or 50, which is probably the limit of our hearing. I'm actually not so sure about the lower limit of our hearing. Oops. Did I bump something? I think I just knocked a wire off. What happened? No, it's still there. So I'm going to switch speakers now. I'm going to switch to this one behind me and see if it's got the same bass response. Okay, so here's the weird thing. Where I'm standing right now, you can barely hear this. This is way louder. But look where I'm standing. Who cares? Just standing somewhere. Let me move around a bit. Okay, so if I stand here, I really can't hear that. Certainly can't hear that. Ooh, put my head down there. It's definitely down there. So So I think what this is telling me is these big speakers really go low, no doubt about it. Got to do the driver check on them now. So the first thing I want to do, oh my gosh, that just shook the house. So I think it's a little out of sorts here on the amplifier. I don't think it matters, ultimately. Let's go lower. Seems to have a little bit of that 20 peak there. Really comes to life at around 40. Now we're going to switch to the older vintage big speakers down below. So the peak's a little higher on this one, around 70 and 80. Yeah, you know, it's the audio, like listening to this, what I'm watching and what I'm hearing don't quite match up. And you know, that's because of all those problems I talked about. Individual driver check. Again, moving the microphone, that's why you're hearing that. So we want FM, white noise. Wow, okay, so there's a thunder. When I turn this up a little bit, there's a thunder in my shop. This is coming from the one vintage speaker. I hear thunder. I'll flip now to the big tall guy. I hear more thunder. It's just pounding in here. Says something about that white noise coming out of an FM receiver. I think if you tuned an FM receiver to the white noise thing and then fed it through wonderful speakers like this, you could hear the limits of the FM receiver itself. Because there's really low stuff in this white noise. Okay, speaker driver check. This speaker. Hey, these got two different tweeters. Hey. That must be a coincidence. I have one like this, and these have been switched. I never knew that. Let's check them. This speaker. First, I need the headphones. I can share in the misery of what you're hearing here. Okay. There we go. I gotta switch something here because we're on only feeding one channel. Just one sec here. We'll do this out of here. There. So we're now on the speaker. Oh my gosh, the floor is shaking in here. Really? There's a... Wow. Holy smokes. Okay. Did I not succeed here? So I accidentally had one of the vintage speakers on. There we go. There's too many things to adjust. Let's hear them. Farther away. We're going to listen to the tweeter. I'm going to swing the microphone around it. I want to compare the tweeter, the original tweeter here, to this changed one over here. I wonder if I did that and I just don't remember. I don't think so. Okay, listening to this. Okay, let's try that with the mid-range. Slight difference, and you know what surprises that? That can't be surprising. Put on some more microphones in here. Okay, I think I'm finished here for now. Bottom line, a lot of good speakers in here. Bigger box, bigger sound. Bigger driver, bigger woof. No doubt about it. No surprises here. Everything working. Ever so slight variation between the tweeter here and the tweeter here, but goodness knows you'd never hear that difference. So you can just imagine people go into the stereo store. Sometimes the stereo store has a nice listening room. You go in the listening room. What you're hearing is what everything sounds like there in that room. Now, you don't know what sneaky things they've done to make sure you're sitting in the sweet spot when you're listening to the speaker they want to sell you. All those evil salespeople. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I have to put all these speakers back. And great, this worked out well for me. I'm happy. In the future, when I'm working on radios and stuff like that, I now know what to expect if I'm listening to them and checking for their frequency range and things like that. I know what to expect with my microphones, with my setup, with my equipment, the whole shot. And wow, I got some nice speakers here. Again, thanks a lot for watching, and I gotta get a radio in here and start working on it some more.